It is that time of the week. We are looking at your Dynasty football trades.
Come on.
We'll look at the context of your league and give some feedback as to whether we think you won or lost the trade. Now, if you want your trades to be on this weekly show, very, very simple process. All you need to do is use the promo code LAND, go to the Flock Fantasy website, sign up with our promo code, and choose the Mother Flocker tier. Once you've done those two things, you will instantly unlock the Dynasty Trades text channel, and we'll probably be looking at your trades this time next week. The first trade on today's video is from Guru Mitch. And Guru Mitch says, just wanted Singletary off my roster and to restart with a younger back and the 205. So he gets the 205 and a third. He sends away Devin Singletary and a third. So essentially Devin Singletary for the 205.
205. Yeah.
And I don't really care what format this is, if it's one quarterback or super flex. If you can get the 205 for Devin Singletary, I think you should pull the trigger.
Yeah, I completely agree. Great value here. We're going to see a couple running backs potentially going in that area at around the 205. So hopefully you can land one of those guys.
Yeah, we're talking about Devin Singletary, who has no contract in 2024. He will be a free agent, talented player, but there's no security in him long term, and he's a replaceable level talent.
Agreed.
So I like that move. The next trade is from Hand the Man, referred to Kilo League. It looks like this is a big one. This is a big one. Hand the Man gets CJ Stroud, Jordan Addison, and the 309, so two whales. He sends away the 103, the 105, Demario Douglas, and the 209. Now, personally, I think at minimum CJ Stroud is worth the 103 and the 105 alone.
That's
if not more.
I agree.
So I'm looking at Jordan Addison pretty much for Demario Douglas and the 209, which doesn't move me. I think the CJ Stroud side won this, but it is a very top-heavy class in 2024. You know, those top 5 picks are definitely gold. If you get a quarterback that is anywhere near the level of CJ Stroud, you'll probably feel good about this trade. But just as of today, with what we currently know, I think CJ Stroud is probably worth 3 first-round picks, if not more.
I agree. And, you look at this trade, the 103, you could put a Drake May, a Jaden Daniels tag on that. And then at the 105, maybe Roma Doomsday, Brock Bowers, you can put name on that 105. What CJ Stroud has done already has been incredible. Jordan Addison, has been great for fantasy. I question the quarterback future, especially with, JJ coming back. A lot of his success did come with Justin Jefferson was out, but we've seen him be successful with Justin Jefferson as well. So not to knock that, but I mean, it's just not enough.
You're taking a proven asset, right now a consensus top 5 asset in all of Dynasty Superflex leagues, and you're kind of flipping it for another go at what could be, So I think Stroud should have brought more back, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree there.
Another trade, 12-team Dynasty Start 11, no tight end premium. I now have the 102, 105, 106, 111, 202, and 205 this year. 325 first and 425 second. So it looks like Hand the Man gets the bottom side here, which is Geno, Hurts, Smith in a first. He sends away Trevor Lawrence, T. Higgins, Mac Jones, the 212, and the 107. The way I'm viewing this personally is give me Jalen Hurts over Trevor, although I think it's closer than people realize if that tush-push rule is taken away. Give me, like, DeVonta Smith and T. Higgins would even out. And then you have to ask yourself, where is that first-round pick going to be in 2025? But I think this is a relatively even deal. I'd love to know where that 25 first ends up.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, I guess we say that every year. I don't know the draft class. I think there's still the gap there even without the tush push because of the talent that's around Jalen Hurts personally. With Trevor Lawrence, and I've been somebody not saying Trevor Lawrence is bad. I just think there's a lot of concerns moving forward. I said this on the live stream. I saw a graphic once, and they were comparing to Daniel Jones and Trevor Lawrence's stats. And Trevor Lawrence has had significantly better stats than or talent around him at least. Not knocking his talent, just saying it's a little bit concerning when I'm thinking of the future. So I'd rather have Jalen Hurts personally by a mile. But yeah, DeVonta Smith, T. Higgins.
That's interesting. I think that's probably consensus. The more I think about it, I actually have more concerns around Hurts. I think obviously I prefer Hurts over Lawrence right now in Dynasty. But as far as their games translating long term, I have more concerns about Jalen personally.
Look, and that could be the case.
When over 30% of your fantasy points come from the tush push, if that is outlawed, that's a concern for me a little bit. Not that he's not going to score rushing touchdowns and stuff, but that was like a cheat code. If you were playing Jalen Hurts and okay, they're at the 2-yard line, they're at the 1-yard line, great. Jalen Hurts, another rushing touchdown from the tush push,
Yeah.
Whereas Trevor Lawrence was on the unlucky side of scoring touchdowns. The amount of 1-foot touchdowns that he had from his receivers, if it was college rules, he probably leads the NFL in passing touchdowns. But I actually have more concerns around what rule change will happen this offseason for Hurts than I do Lawrence.
Look, I can definitely see that. I think what is keeping me afloat with Hurts is the talent around him compared to Trevor Lawrence. If Trevor, he could have had the most passing touchdowns, but that was with Calvin Ridley, and it just didn't happen. But you have A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith, Dallas Goedert there. What is that running back room going to look like? Do they draft a running back? Do they keep Swift? I know the offensive line is going to change with Travis Kelce. I just feel a lot more confident. Jason Kelce, excuse me. But yeah, I just feel a lot more confident with Jalen Hurts. And yeah, he may lose some fantasy points, but I think the passing opportunity would rise a little bit more at the goal line if they do eliminate the tush push, or they could just result in rushing the ball with a running back, which we all would love with DeAndre Swift. Let's
see. There's weird vibes in Philly, but I think this is a relatively even deal. The 212, obviously, that you could find a good value there. Mac Jones means little to nothing to me.
Agreed.
So I guess it really comes down to where T. Higgins signs. If the tush push rule is taken away and where that 25 first is. But I could see this going either way in a year's time.
Yeah, agreed.
So probably both. It's a good trade, if that's what we're saying. Moff, what's up, man? He says, traded Nick Chubb for the 202 in a 10-man, 1-quarterback league. I don't mind that. Now, if I knew Nick Chubb was going to be healthy and no issues with his knees to start the year, I think I might prefer that, Nick Chubb over the 202 in this class specifically. But keep in mind, it's a 10-man, so that's really the 111 or the 112. So yeah, I don't mind that. I don't think you could get more for Nick Chubb at this point.
Yeah, I don't think you can get more for him either. So 202 at a 10-man, 1-quarterback. I think there's still some good value there at a wide receiver. Going to be there for you. So I like this.
If you're not relying on Chubb as well, I think it's a good sell.
Agreed.
Robbo, what's up, man? 12-team Superflex, PPR tight end premium. His roster configuration: 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, 2 Superflex, and 2 flex and 1 Superflex.
2 flex, yeah, 1 Superflex.
Gotcha. So it looks like Waddle and the 102 on one side, Stroud and the 205 on the other. Where do you stand on this?
This is interesting.
This is very interesting.
I don't think... Actually, I think this might be even.
I think so too.
The reason why I say that is because, Waddle is, I've said this earlier in this offseason. I just think Waddle's upside is capped with Tyreek Hill being there. So, yeah, he's still going to be a top 15 wide receiver, but he's not going to have those boom games that you expect. You're probably looking at a 13 and maybe at best week 17-point game from Jalen Waddle. But the 102 there, Marvin Harrison Jr., Drake May, Jaden Daniels, if either of those guys hit, which feels really confident, then you're okay. And at the 205, but CJ Stroud is worth that already. He's an elite quarterback, a top 4 quarterback, I would say consensus already.
Yeah.
That is a huge boost in your team on a week-to-week basis. So I think this is an even trade. It also depends on who you get at the 205. I mean, at the moment, Trey Benson could be the 205. Jonathan Brooks could be the 205.
You're not getting a Jalen Waddle at the 205 though. That's for
exactly.
Sure.
You're not getting Jalen Waddle, but CJ Stroud I think is worth Jalen Waddle and the 102. I mean, if you tell, let's put a name to it then. Jalen Waddle, Marvin Harrison Jr.
I'd rather be Caleb Williams for the sake of like, we're going from quarterback to quarterback. So
right, because
Caleb Williams and Jalen Waddle.
Well, then
CJ Stroud and Xavier.
Then any other quarterback. Well, Jalen Waddle, Jaden Daniels. Would you take that trade?
No, because I think you're either getting Marvin or Caleb. So in this scenario, I'm just saying.
Oh, okay. Marvin, okay. Okay, Marvin goes one, and then Caleb goes. Yeah. So like, you would take Caleb and Waddle, or Marvin and Waddle? Okay.
Well, all I'm saying is it's even.
Yeah. This is a tough trade. This is very interesting.
And Waddle's going to get a lot of hate this offseason. He didn't really have a good year, but don't forget he finished, I think, top 8 last year, if I'm not mistaken, and he broke rookie records. So it just wasn't a good year, but I think that's an even deal. I really do.
Yeah.
And considering the fact that he can start 5 wide receivers at a time, I think that helps you knowing that you get a guy like Waddle. 3 starting wide receiver spots, 2 flexes. Now, obviously, if Caleb Williams ends up being a bust, you'll definitely regret it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Tough call. Daniel says we do lottery for the 1 to 5, then 5 to 10 picks, so that no one tanks. But these picks ended up being the 110 and the 207 for JT. So yeah, he gets Jonathan Taylor, sends away again the 110 and the 207. I think you got an absolute steal getting Jonathan Taylor on your team.
Agreed. This is a perfect trade for you.
Yeah, that's a very, very affordable deal on JT. Rowan, what's up, man? Trade I made in the hotel league. So it looks like the 101 and the 112 for the 102 and the 108. And the question is, do you want to control the draft? A lot of talk right now. Marvin Harrison Jr., Caleb Williams at the 101. Maybe if you are Rowan, you're thinking to yourself, I don't care who I end up at the 102. Let me get a higher pick at the 108. I think that makes a lot of sense. Now, for Drink My Cola here, he probably has a very specific need, and these guys are on the same level as far as talent, Marvin and Caleb, so he gets to control the draft exactly as he wants to, and he still stays in the first round. I think really that tier break is after the 7, but you're still going to get a talented player at the 108, so I think this makes sense for both players. You just get, for Rowan, hey, whoever falls to me, I'm feeling good about this, and at the 108, you get a pick 4 spots higher.
Yeah, look, I actually don't mind this. 108. I mean, you think of, what's that, Brian Thomas, Troy Franklin. At the 112, that's where you see the Lama Conkleys. You see maybe another quarterback like a Michael Penix or Bo Nix or Xavier Legette. So I think the talent is a significant boost there if you are okay to give up the 101. If you are okay with quarterback, right? Yeah. Like you're saying, okay, I have Jalen Hurts and a Trevor Lawrence or Jalen Hurts and whoever that's a good quarterback. You don't really need a Caleb Williams. Let me get Marvin Harrison Jr. And you just wanted to move up. So I'm okay with this trade.
Yeah, I think it makes sense for both sides. I think it's a very fair trade. Jeff, what's up, Jeff? This is a huge deal. Okay, It looks like Trevor Lawrence and James Cook for Derek Carr, Deshaun Watson, J.K. Dobbins, A.J. Dillon, Jahan Dotson, 2 seconds, and a lot of 4th-round picks. So let's be honest. And someone said this on one of our videos last week when I said that 4th-round pick doesn't really matter that much to me. And they were like, well, Puka Nacua was a 3rd and 4th-round pick. Yes. Very rare that you find a Puka Nacua, a guy who breaks records in the 4th round. One of our favorite players to draft last year. But I would send as many 4th-round picks as I could to get a deal done. They don't matter to me. And so, yeah, I mean, what do you think of this deal?
I'm taking the Trevor Lawrence and James Cook side. I think you're going to be hard pressed to get sell Deshaun Watson for first. I think no one on the other side on the big trade here is worth a first. Derek Carr's not worth a first. Deshaun Watson, no. I think you can argue that he might be like a 112, 111, depending on your league. Yeah. J.K. Dobbins not worth. A.J. Dillon not worth. Jahan Dotson is not worth the first anymore. So you're essentially getting Trevor Lawrence, who's still worth 1 to 2 first, and James Cook, like which we talked about, I think he's worth more like a early second. You're saying he's worth a late first. So if that's the case,
easily, I think,
that's a win. That's a win-win trade. Like you're winning there with Trevor Lawrence and James Cook there, who are both valued over first with first round picks, and you literally get no first round picks here and no value at the moment with players that are valued at first rounds. So
yeah, this is silly season from whoever took that deal, because Trevor Lawrence is by far and away more valuable than any piece on the other side. It's not even close.
Mm-hmm.
And James Cook and Deshaun Watson probably hold similar value. So you're getting rid of a lot of roster cloggers for startable assets. I think you did a really good job in that deal.
Yeah, I agree.
Sparrow, 12-team Superflex PPR tight end premium. It's a 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, tight end, 3 flex, and then a super flex. After this trade, my running backs are Breece Walker, Rashawn Kendray, and Dobbins, and Keaton Mitchell. Need more wide receivers. My wide receivers after the trade are Devonta, Godwin, Judy, Dotson, Burks, and Shakir. So it looks like he gets Chris Godwin. Sends away Chris Rodriguez, Israel, Abanikanda, don't want none. And then Najee Harris on the other side. So I think this is a relatively even deal. Again, Rodriguez and Abanikanda don't really mean much, but the Najee and Godwin part of this is relatively even. And I like the bet on Chris Godwin there.
I agree. I like the bet on Chris Godwin. The way Baker Mayfield is playing makes you feel a little bit more confident for his future. So we'll see what happens there.
I agree. And then Crime Lord is our last trade of the day. 12-team Superflex PPR start, 3 wide receivers. Traded for Smith to stack up with Hurts, and he slots in nicely as a wide receiver 3 behind Wilson, Olave, and Tank. QJ and Watson on the bench. JT and Kyron still at running back. So he gets DeVonta Smith and a third, sends away Travis Etienne and a second. Look, for me, I think there's more value in Etienne in a second. And I'll just say the reason because is of how it is very difficult to find a good starting running back.
Mm-hmm.
It is not that hard to find a wide receiver that you can put in your lineup. So, in my personal opinion, I think Etienne is worth more than this. Maybe I'm wrong, but I believe that he is worth more than this. And I would view this as a buy low on Travis Etienne. This is not a shout like disrespect at DeVonta Smith. At least that's not what it's aimed to be. But it's, what did DeVonta Smith average this year? He wasn't that impressive. He averaged 14 points per game, which is fine. But you can find a guy who's averaging 10 to 12 points per game everywhere in fantasy. Right? That is not hard to replicate. But to find a guy in Travis Etienne's position averaging 16.5 points per game at the running back spot, by the way, behind arguably the worst rushing offensive line in the NFL this year. So, I don't know. I personally think Etienne has more value because of the scarcity of the position.
Yeah, I would agree there. I was just looking at I was looking at DeVonta Smith and his points per game. But I would say this. I think I would have traded Kyron away, not for DeVonta Smith, but like to get DeVonta Smith, I would say in the return of a little bit more with how high his value is at the moment. And kept Travis Etienne, who feels a lot more secure in the future personally. But yeah, look, I would agree there. I do value Travis Etienne a lot higher with top 3, top 4 running back in Dynasty at the moment. Like you said, hard to get running backs. And DeVonta Smith, I mean, you could have pivoted to so many other different names that could have produced the same that he did, like Zach was mentioning. So, yeah, I would have kept the Travis Etienne side, in my opinion. And the second, where's that second going to be? Is that an early second? Is that the 201 to the 205 with Travis Etienne? Yeah. Like, that's a huge difference. Like, because the early second round here, some good value. In 2024, and if that is the same case in 2025, you're saying, dang, I wish I kept that second.
Yeah, Etienne, my RB6 right now in my Dynasty rankings. DeVonta Smith would be my wide receiver 23, and that might seem low, but, guys like Higgins, Zay Flowers, Metcalf, Tank Dell, Pittman, are all guys I'm kind of valuing a little bit more than him right now.
Yeah.
And it's not a talent issue at all. I'm not sitting here saying he's not talented, but he's, people are going to hate that I even say this. He's replaceable. Etienne, it's very difficult to replace that. So I think if you guys are selling any of these running backs in the top 8 of my rankings, at least, Bijan, Gibbs, Hall, McCaffrey, JT, Etienne, Etienne. If you're selling those names, you better be getting a really big haul in return. It's very difficult to find guys that produce like that at their RB spot. So that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. But that's it for today, guys. We appreciate you. Go ahead and hit the like button, and we'll see you very soon. All up. Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, LAND, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.
It's so easy. Even your grandma could scan that QR code right there.